Hello friends, I'm Patrick Horn, the Senior Minister at Pilgrim Congregational Church in Pomona, California, and I'd like to talk today about prayer. What is prayer? Well, of course, the simple, straightforward answer is that prayer is speaking to God, talking to God. The question I'd like to address is, why do we do this? Why do Christians talk to God? Well, there are two basic ways that we talk to God. One way is when we're in trouble, when we're hurting, when we're suffering, we cry out. We say, Lord, where are you? Why is this happening? That's a very common sort of prayer, and it's not one that we ought to look down upon because we have lots of examples of it in the Bible, from Job, from the Psalms, and even from Jesus himself on the cross. He cried out, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? So crying out can be a prayer. Crying out when you're hurting, when you're in pain, or someone you're close to is hurting and in pain, you cry out to God. That's one kind of prayer. Another kind of prayer is more like a planned prayer, right? Where you pray before a meal, you pray before bedtime, you may pray in the morning when you get up. You pray at worship service on Sundays. You pray with other believers. That is a kind of prayer that you do because you want to enrich your own life, your own Christian life with God, your own walk with God, your life with other people. And we're given instructions about how to do that. The main issue in prayer is that you want to align yourself with God. That's the main issue with prayer. And this is why Jesus teaches us in the Lord's Prayer to pray, thy will be done. We pray, thy will be done every time we pray. So that what we're trying to do when we pray is to align our own wills with God. Now let's go back quickly to the first kind of prayer, when we're crying out in suffering and in pain. What does it mean to cry out? Well, it is a cry that recognizes that you're in pain and you're in suffering. But you cry out to God because you believe God has the power to respond to the situation that you're in. Now listen, we know enough about psychology to know that encouragement, positive thinking, these are all things that we know are helpful to people. But even beyond that, prayer addresses something that's very mysterious to the intellect, very mysterious to the rational mind, but it gets us oriented to thinking about aligning ourselves with God. What does it mean in the middle of suffering or sharing some suffering with one of your friends or family members? What does it mean to align ourselves with God in that state, in that condition? So prayer is very powerful, probably much more powerful than we give it credit for, because we often think of ourselves as, not doing very much. We're just saying something to God, right? And it's much more powerful than that. It has a deep effect on ourselves, has a deep effect on one another and those in our lives. And there's this mysterious element to it that we ought not to underrate, because it's very powerful. So I hope you will reflect a bit on your own prayer life. And if you have questions about it, please contact us. Come to our worship service and participate in prayer with us. Learn more about prayer in your own life. We'd love to be there with you. Have a good day.